So Lex Luthor has to be the most compelling character in my opinion, and he's just such an interesting character where he balances and teeters between that anti-hero villain and hero mantra. To the public, a lot of the times he feels like a hero. He does a lot of good things in the public, but at the same time, he's this massive supervillain in the eyes of Superman, and so on and so forth. And I feel like Injustice: Gods Among Us actually encapsulates this perfectly. Now, I do want to say that it is a little bit awkward to call someone who gave the Joker a nuke the true hero of something, but let's be clear, that was a different universe in all technicality. Earth Prime, he did give the Joker a nuclear bomb to set off in Metropolis, but in the other Earth, being that of the Injustice universe, that's not exactly what happened. A whole nother sequence of events occurred, and Lex Luthor actually isn't a bad person, and he honestly proves time and time again throughout Injustice: Gods Among Us why he is the true hero. And there's a multitude of reasons for that, and I want to just go over them in their totality to a large extent. Now, for starters, he is arguably and most likely the best friend of Superman. We know that Superman, or Injustice Superman in this story, is mostly evil. I mean, he does somewhat good things like stopping war and conflict and stuff like that, so that is helpful, but for the most part he's very, very messed up in the brain. And who wouldn't be after, you know, the things you've done, like kill your wife and unborn child? But that's not something I want to talk about. I feel like I talk about that a little too much in these videos. But let's get back to Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor inherently is kind of this double agent, which ironically enough, calling someone a double agent does in this regard coincide with being a hero. But he is a double agent in terms of actually being the best friend of Superman, but also helping the insurgency, something that is trying to take down this Injustice Superman, or this tyrannical Superman. It's definitely not too far-fetched to think that Lex Luthor himself actually helps on so many different regards, and at face level you can say, oh well, he helps the insurgency, so well, he helps the straight up stopping of Superman and the corrupt Justice League. Yes, this is true 100%, but he also stays face a lot of the time, and for a lot of people who don't understand that, that is more of a wrestling or WWE term. Staying face basically means you're the good guy, but in this regard, you can kind of use it for context in terms of him showing a different face in front of Injustice Superman and the public. And that's another thing that I want to lead into, because in front of the public, this guy was seen as a hero, was seen as someone that was truly helping out. I mean, he was a president at one point, so he is definitely someone that is massively helping in the public's eye, and we even see the downfall entirely after he dies, especially because everybody is freaking out at the idea that they straight up, or Injustice Superman straight up kills Lex Luthor, and this would send riptides throughout the entirety of the world, and Superman could hear every last voice talking about it. But honestly, talking about his death may be a little bit ahead of schedule of what I want to truly talk about, but that is a important aspect I wanted to get out there immediately. But like I said, he did help the insurgency a massive amount, and that would include actually funding them in secret. That's the only reason why Batman was able to do the things he does, because we all know that Injustice Batman ends up getting his identity revealed by Superman, which is a wild thing to do, but that was what Superman thought he needed to do, so he decided to expose Batman as Bruce Wayne, and they more or less froze his entirety of his assets, so he was unfortunately unable to actually fund anything he was actually doing. But luckily enough, Lex Luthor in this timeline is a good person, so he decides he's going to fund the insurgency and try his best to absolutely, you know, do do anything he possibly can to stop his so-called best friend or partner in the High Council, that of Superman. And even further on, he continues to show how intelligent he truly is and how his intelligence could have been used for good so massively, especially in other timelines, because he straight up contacts both Cyborg and Deathstroke and tells them about infiltrating the Watchtower, or basically shortly after infiltrating the Watchtower. And he claims that he wanted to do this all in secret since Batman would have assumed the responsibilities, and he didn't want to risk Bruce's life because that would literally lead to the fall of the insurgency in its entirety, which is a crazy thought that Lex feels the need to more or less sacrifice someone else or himself, and soon we'll see why I even bring up himself, that he feels that this is a better place for his kind of ideals, that he would rather keep Bruce or Batman safe because that's how important Batman is to the cause. And we even see eventually when they save the Injustice Batman at Stryker's Island, who was essentially going to be executed there. Hey guys, sorry to cut in really quick. Quick editor's note, I'm editing this video and I just realized this. Yeah, they didn't actually save Injustice Batman or Insurgency Batman. It was the other Batman they were saving. Sorry about that. Doesn't really affect what I'm talking about, but just wanted to bring that up briefly. I just realized that the Insurgency Batman is the one saving the other Batman, but let's just get on with the video. Sorry about that. They take him and bring him back, but here's the thing. Lex Luthor doesn't actually expose the idea that they have a kryptonite, or they are weaponizing a kryptonite weapon from Batman's kryptonite itself, and that they basically found some prototype technology and they were trying to retrieve it to a large extent. But like I said before, they're not going to tell Batman about this at all, because if he did, then Batman would have insisted on using it himself. And see it how you may, maybe some of you will see this as, well, if he did allow Batman to do this and see this, maybe Batman would have defeated Superman even easier. But you can also make the argument that Lex felt that if he did it, because, well, for one, he was a quote-unquote trusted person in that repertoire, but also if he did it and ended up dying, they're losing kind of a lot less than if they actually lost Batman himself. And you may be thinking, well, what about his fortune? I mean, if he dies, his fortune goes with him, and Batman and the Insurgency lose all their money. So actually, there's an answer for that in Injustice 2, arguably enough, and funny enough, is he basically has a holographic message entrusting the remainder of LexCorp's assets to Bruce Wayne, or to Batman, and that would allow him to rebuild the world from scratch, or at least that's what he was thinking, if they actually were able or capable of winning the battle against, well, you know, Superman. So it's actually kind of funny to think that Lex Luthor in this timeline has a lot of layers to his plans, especially just like how you would think a Batman would have layers to his plans. I mean, Lex Luthor knew that he was taking a risk by using the kryptonite weapon himself, but at least that was keeping Batman safe. Now, if he did die to Superman, being that the kryptonite weapon either failed or it was somehow stopped, and we know the outcome of that being that Shazam ends up stopping him, if he somehow loses and dies, at least all of that money still goes to Batman at the very end of it. And on top of that, his death would send ripples, like I've said before, to every single person in the entire world. I mean, it literally set off Superman entirely and set off kind of like this hole in the regime now. I mean, soon we would see the death of Shazam for speaking out, and on top of that, we would have the Flash, or Barry Allen, decide that this is not what he signed up for, that he's going to quit and leave. That right there in itself is a big hit to the regime, and also even more proof that Lex Luthor's death actually meant a lot. Because I'm gonna be honest, if Batman was the person that actually used the weaponry, maybe he actually died during this, and you would only have Lex Luthor instead of Batman, that would have been a negative. It would have been pretty damn bad, and I think Lex Luthor understood that as well, that if Batman died instead of him, that the effect on the world would mean so little. Batman has been framed over and over again as this villain in the face of everybody in the Injustice universe and on that Injustice Earth. So him dying, especially at the hands of Superman, broadcasted to everybody and so on, would mean literally nothing. It wouldn't mean much. I mean, yes, the brutality would be scary and everybody would be like, whoa, he just killed in front of us. That's horrible. But at the same time, it wouldn't mean much to everyone else, especially on Earth, because a lot of people would look at it like, well, isn't Batman the bad guy? Like, good. I'm glad that Superman did that. But if Lex Luthor dies, everyone looks at Lex Luthor as someone that's a good person, that helps everybody, that has maintained peace and helped everybody around the world. But, well, Superman, all he looks like right now is a crazed lunatic that will do anything to basically get his way. He no longer looks like the hero, and that's why Superman ended up kind of going off the rails even more, talking about how he's going to attack Gotham and Metropolis and make it so that they teach them a lesson. And obviously that's an example of Superman going off the rails. I have probably millions of them, but that's not necessarily the point of the video. It's just talking about that Lex Luthor more or less sacrificed himself to make this happen. Yes, they end up defeating Superman and putting him in a prison, and we all know that to be the ending. But obviously, Lex Luthor wanted it to be that he kills Superman. That was his whole goal, or at least neutralize him to a large extent. And unluckily enough, we obviously had Shazam, well, stop him. Now, it is a sad thing to think about because Shazam himself stops Lex Luthor, inherently gets him killed, which I know it's not technically Shazam's fault, but does inherently get him killed, and then, well, guess what? Dies himself. It's a very sad domino effect, because at the end of the day, Lex Luthor was a good person to a large extent. Shazam had to make that choice, and he did make that choice, but unfortunately, it kind of feels like he made the wrong choice, and I think we can all agree that he definitely did. And with all that said, to wrap it up and talk about all of the great things that this Lex Luthor did, wow, never thought I would be saying that, but yes, this Lex Luthor did do some great things. On top of that, he also was the creator, well, the infamous creator of the nanotech pill, or the kryptonite pill, the literal pill that allows them to fight alongside godlike superhumans. And of course, he's also the one that kind of leaked the pill out, or the nanotech kryptonite pill out to the insurgency. I mean, without the pill, they would stand no chance. That's just straight up. If they had the pill, let's say everybody in the regime had the nanotech pill, or the kryptonite pill is what I like to basically call it. But it's obviously called like 5U93R, something like that, nanotech pill. If they didn't have it, if the regime only had it but the insurgency didn't, the insurgency would just lose. There is no way around that. You can't fight these godlike beings without some sort of ramped up power, and you can kind of put it off to be like a weird writing logic and or weird gaming writing logic as well, but at the same time, it's kind of the truth. The insurgency would have stood no chance against people like Black Adam, people like a Yellow Lantern Hal Jordan, The Flash, Superman, Wonder Woman, and the list goes on and on and on. The beings on that side of the field were insane, and a lot of the people on the side of the insurgency were all kind of just normal humans, so the pill was 100% needed. Just another thing that Lex Luthor was able to implement, and understanding that yes, this will help Superman and the regime, but if he can get it to Batman and the insurgency, that it would have way more long-lasting effects than anything that the regime could truly use it for themselves. I mean, giving Batman a pill like that, and some of the most deadliest martial artists and more important characters that could be definitely useful. I mean, think about people like Deathstroke, one of the greatest martial artists in DC. Batman, one of the greatest martial artists in DC. People like that, having that kryptonite pill, being able to more or less utilize your martial arts against godlike beings because of a tiny pill, it's going to benefit the insurgency way more and keep them in the play way more than anything else. If they didn't have it, they would be screwed, and that's just another reason why Lex Luthor was the true hero of Injustice Gods Among Us. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think about Lex Luthor? What do you think about Prime, Earth Prime Lex Luthor, or the original Earth, I guess you can call it, the one that, you know, they get sent away from? And then also, what do you think about Injustice Lex Luthor? I'm actually a really big fan of Injustice Lex Luthor. I think there's a lot of layers to the character, and it's a very interesting take on the character. Maybe one of the good things that Injustice did as a total storyline. But with that said, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below what you would like to see next or what you think about the video in general. As always, I am a comic casual. Your boy is reading, your boy is watching, your boy is trying to enjoy as much of this content, or more or less the DC content, as much as possible. Batman, Superman, all that good stuff. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, YouTube thinks that you'll enjoy this one, so might as well go check it out. I mean, it doesn't hurt, right? Click on the video.